Hello everybody, Pharmacist Keith here. Just wanted to shoot another quick post today. I'm sitting in front of one of Louisville's premier hospitals, and I thought this would be a good setting for what I want to share with you today. It's another story that was published recently about Big Pharma. And you guys know what I think about the pharmaceutical industry that controls the healthcare field. You know, I've expressed it many times in the past, but let me try to get a better signal. Where I was sitting, apparently the signal's a little bit weak. So anyhow, wanted to broadcast today. Like I said, I'm sitting in front of one of the Louisville's premier hospitals, and wanted to share with you another story about Big Pharma and what they really think about our health and what they really think about patient care. This has nothing to do with the hospital. The folks at the hospital are fantastic, and again, this post is in no way derogatory towards the hospitals. It's more towards Big Pharma. And before I get to that post, you guys know I've shared a lot of things over the years regarding the pharmaceutical industry. And again, I'm not talking about the hospitals, I'm not talking about the pharmacists and the drugstores and that type of thing. I'm actually talking about the big pharmaceutical companies that control the industry. And again, before I get to the story I wanted to share with you, I want to share something else too. I've had a presence on YouTube now for many years, and many of my YouTube videos are what they call monetized. And what that means is the YouTube puts commercials at the beginning of the post, and I share in the revenue from that. So I'm being honest and upfront there. I've made a little bit of money off of nothing that's that's to take to the bank as far as creating an income from it, but I've made a little bit of money over the years off my videos that I've posted. Well, recently YouTube has been going through all my videos and unmonetizing them, and what I've noticed is the ones that they've unmonetized is every single post where I talk about Big Pharma. Every single post. They've taken commercials off of it, and the only thing I can figure there is their biggest clients, their biggest advertisers are the big pharmaceutical companies, and since they don't like what I have to say, they have taking the monetization off of those posts, trying to hurt my pocketbook. I don't make enough money off YouTube to where it's really hurting my pocketbook, but I just think that's funny that because I'm so outspoken against the industry that they've done that. But anyhow, what I wanted to talk to you about today was an article that was posted in Medscape at medscape.com on April 17th. That's a publication that pharmacists, doctors, and other healthcare providers get a lot of information from. But anyhow, the headline of the article was "Destroy Them: One Way to Up Price of Generic Cancer Drugs." And what happened is an email was leaked from a senior executive at one of the large pharmaceutical companies where he discusses destroying supplies of generic cancer drugs as a way to battle price controls in this particular case was in Spain, and this was reported in a British newspaper, The Times. So what they're talking about is, in order to create a shortage of their drug so they can raise the prices, they talked about how they can destroy the drugs and create a false shortage. And with the shortage comes supply and demand, basic economics. If there's a shortage of supply and there's a huge demand, then prices naturally go up. Apparently this happened back in 2014. There was this email was between two staff members of a pharmaceutical company called Aspen Pharmacare. It's a company that has a market valuation of about $10 billion, and they sell products globally, including here in the United States. And they had recently, at that time, bought several chemotherapy drugs from, I believe it was Glaxo. I may be wrong on that, but I believe it was some of Glaxo's drugs. You know, they were divesting their some of their portfolio of drugs and getting out of that business, and this pharmaceutical company bought those. And these are all drugs that are off patent. They're generic, but the only person that was making the generic at the time was Glaxo. So when this company took over, they wanted to raise the price. And at this time, back in 2014, they were in negotiations with the Spanish Health Service about the price of 5 different generic cancer drugs. And they were attempting to increase the prices of those drugs by 4,000%. 4,000%. Roughly, one of the drugs, roughly, at the time they bought it, they were charging like $6 for a pack of pills, and they wanted to raise the price of that particular drug to about $65-$70 for a pack of pills. And in that particular case, that was a 1,100% increase in price. It's a drug called busulfan, and again, that's a drug for leukemia. And then there was another drug that's for Hodgkin's lymphoma that it's chlorambucil. That's the generic name. The brand name used to be called Leukeran, but the generic is chlorambucil. And basically they wanted to raise the price of it from around $8 to somewhere around $40. So, you know, Spain wouldn't agree to the huge price increases, so the situation got to the point where they stopped shipping drugs to Spain. All 5 of those drugs, they stopped shipping them to Spain in 2014. And about a half a year later, in October, according to this article, staff members in their Dublin office, which serves as their European headquarters, asked someone at their headquarters about what to do with this surplus of drugs that were left over because they weren't shipping them to Spain, and it was creating a surplus of the drug. So at that time, the senior executive replied that the drugs couldn't be sold because of the pricing dispute, and that if the Spanish health ministry did not agree to higher prices, quote, the only option will be to donate or destroy this stock, end quote. And you know, as a pharmacist over the years, there's been crazy things, crazy drugs that suddenly go on back order and we can't get them. Supplies are, or the drugs are in short supply. And I always wondered, you know, why are these particular drugs? It's often a generic drug, and it's often a single source where you can't get the drug from any other source, and suddenly the drugs are on short supply and you can't get them. It just makes me wonder how often this actually occurs. You know, how often do the drug companies create these shortages in order to drive up the prices? It just shows that, one more way that it shows that these companies, your health isn't what they care about. It's not your health. They care about one thing and one thing only: the bottom line, the dollar, how much money they can make. And I think that's why I see so many times when these companies, you know, there'll be all kinds, you know, I've shared this with you before, there'll be all kinds of evidence of how different nutraceuticals, nutraceuticals would be vitamins and nutritional products, how the different nutraceuticals benefit different disease states. And I have to be careful how I word things, because the FDA is coming down on people to make claims about nutraceuticals now. But you'll have different articles, that studies that'll be posted where such and such nutraceutical decreased the likelihood of this disease state, or increase the likelihood of reducing symptoms of a disease state. You know, you'll see these articles published, and then you'll suddenly see another article published in some medical journal somewhere that will say that XYZ nutraceutical didn't do anything. And then when you go back and you find out, you know, in pharmacy school I was told there's 3 things to always ask when you find an overwhelming body of evidence that says one thing, and then you come across an article that says completely different than the other body of evidence. They always told me in pharmacy school to ask 3 questions. Who funded the study? What do they stand to gain or lose from the results that they get from their study? And then number 3, what did they do to get those results? And over and over and over again, when I actually go and do a Medline search and actually pull the study and read the entire article, not just the summary at the beginning and not just the summary at the end, but read the meat of the article. Every single time when I've done that, I've found that the study that shows that some XYZ nutraceutical doesn't do anything was done by a major drug company, and that company had a drug that treated that symptom or that disease, and that what they did to get the results that they wanted was they either gave a version of the nutraceutical that your body couldn't absorb or use, or they gave a dose that was way too low. Every single case. And then I come across articles like this one in Medline about creating shortages, and it just shows me that Big Pharma in general does not care 1 iota about your health. All they care about is their pocketbooks. And it just irritates me. You know, and again, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of companies out there that you know, they care. I can honestly say that, you know, probably the vast majority of the doctors in this hospital behind me, you know, they care. They may be misguided because the big pharmaceutical companies controlled their education and taught them what they know. So, you know, they purposely aren't taught what nutraceuticals can do, and you know, what good nutrition and vitamins and mineral supplementation can do. You know, they're taught that it doesn't do anything. I don't fault them for that, because, you know, they went through all that school, they invested in that education, and they're doing what they think is best. So don't get me wrong there. I have no beef with that. I have no beef with the hospitals in general. Yeah, they're here mostly for profit. I mean, face it, even the nonprofit hospitals, if they don't make a profit, they're not going to stay open. So, you know, you do have that. But I think in general they do care about your health. And I certainly know that the pharmacists that I've worked with, they care. You know, they get to know their patients, and they care about their families and the health of the patients and all. They do the best they can with the knowledge that they're given, with the training that they're given. My biggest fault, my biggest issue is with Big Pharma. You know, I know what they did back in the Carnegie days, you know, and how they put their competition out of business by, back then, there was a guy named Flexner, Abraham Flexner. He's actually from my town here. In fact, the hospital downtown has got his name out there. But Abraham Flexner was paid by the Carnegies and the Mellons and, you know, the big tycoons of the early pharmaceutical days. He was paid to go around the country and visit all the different medical schools that were out there, and then document which medical schools practiced or taught allopathic medicine. Allopathic medicine is the traditional medicine that we know about. Allopathic medicine is treating disease using pharmaceuticals. So they went around and learned and documented all the allopathic hospitals out there, and hospitals that didn't teach allopathic medicine, they didn't fund. Hospitals that preached and taught allopathic medicine, they fund it with scholarships and with building better facilities for them and all that. So they spent all their money ensuring that the allopathic form of medicine is the type of medicine that dominates in this country, and they've spent a ton of money lobbying government and everything else in order to be the primary medical providers in this country. And again, that was Big Pharma. And Big Pharma has grown into this monstrous behemoth that it is now. And they don't care about your health. They don't care that the drug doesn't cure your disease, because if there was a cure, they're not going to make money. They want to make sure the drugs make you feel better, reduce the symptoms of your disease, and keep you around as long as possible so that you can use as much of their medication as possible. And that's the situation we're under. And it's a sad situation. So just wanted to share that with you. Here at Campaign for Nutrition, we try to get the word out there and show people that you can take control of your health. You can improve your quality of life. Again, I have to choose my words carefully because the FDA does not want you to make claims, and they just recently started going after all kinds of nutraceutical companies because of claims. So I'm trying to be very careful here not to make medical claims. But what we try to do at Campaign for Nutrition is educate people that there is a better way, that you can improve the quality of your life through better nutrition, through supplementation. Just frankly making sure you get all 90 of the essential nutrients that your body needs. And I believe that God designed our bodies to heal themselves, and that if we give the bodies everything that God intended the body to have, then we'll live long, disease-free lives. And I believe that. And I've seen people use nutraceuticals and seen people improve the quality of their life by just making sure they do get all those 90 essential nutrients. So just wanted to, again, spend a few minutes with you guys and share this with you. And I hope you enjoy this post. I hope you follow my Facebook page, Campaign for Nutrition. Stop by anytime. Feel free to private message me if you have some questions. I'd love to talk with you. Again, thanks very much for taking the time to spend with me today, and I really do appreciate it.